You wake up after 8 hours of sleep, maybe even more, and you still feel drained. You lie there wondering why rest doesn't seem to restore you anymore. Something deeper than a lack of sleep is happening inside your body. And understanding it changes everything about how you approach energy and recovery. Your body doesn't measure rest the way you think it does. When you close your eyes and drift off, you assume your system is recharging like a phone plugged into a wall. But your biology operates on entirely different principles. Rest isn't just about lying still or getting hours of unconsciousness. It's about what happens at the cellular level, in your hormones, in your nervous system, and in the delicate balance between breaking down and building back up. Think of your body as a factory that never truly shuts down. Even when you sleep, millions of processes continue. Your heart beats, your lungs expand and contract. Your liver filters toxins. Your brain consolidates memories and clears waste products that accumulated during the day. Your immune system patrols for threats. All of this requires energy. Real rest means your body can perform these maintenance tasks without interference. And that's where most people run into trouble without realizing it. When you experience stress, your body activates a response system that's been refined over millions of years. This system wasn't designed for the kind of world you live in now. It evolved to help you escape predators, find food during scarcity, and survive immediate physical threats. Your adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increases, your muscles receive more blood, and non-essential functions like digestion and repair get temporarily suppressed. This is brilliant for short bursts. It becomes destructive when it never stops. Modern life keeps this stress response chronically activated. Your body can't tell the difference between a lion chasing you and a deadline looming at work. It can't distinguish between genuine danger and scrolling through bad news on your phone before bed. The physical response is essentially the same. Your adrenal glands keep pumping out cortisol. Your nervous system stays in a state of alert. And here's the critical part. You can't achieve true rest when your body thinks it's still under threat. When you finally lie down at night, your elevated cortisol levels interfere with sleep architecture. You might fall asleep, but you don't cycle properly through the stages your body needs. Deep sleep is when growth hormone gets released, when your muscles repair, when your brain detoxifies itself through the lymphatic system. REM sleep is when emotional processing happens, when memories get organized, when creative connections form. If stress hormones are still coursing through your system, you spend more time in light, fragmented sleep. You get hours of unconsciousness, but not actual restoration. This explains why you can sleep for what seems like enough time and still wake up exhausted. Your body went through the motions of sleep without completing the biological work that sleep is meant to accomplish. It's like running a dishwasher without soap. The cycle completes, but nothing actually gets clean. Your mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside your cells, play a massive role in whether rest actually restores you. These microscopic structures convert the food you eat and the oxygen you breathe into a molecule called ATP, which is essentially cellular currency for energy. When you're under chronic stress, your mitochondria become less efficient. They produce less ATP and more cellular waste products called reactive oxygen species. Over time, this creates a state where your cells can't generate the energy they need, no matter how much you rest. Think about this carefully. If your cellular machinery is damaged or inefficient, sleeping more doesn't fix it. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes. The rest might slow down the drainage, but it doesn't repair the bucket itself. Your body needs the right conditions and the right raw materials to actually fix those mitochondria, and that requires more than just time in bed. Your nervous system has two main modes. The sympathetic nervous system is your accelerator activating the stress response. The parasympathetic nervous system is your brake, promoting rest, digestion, and repair. Most people today live with their foot constantly hovering over the accelerator, occasionally tapping the brake but never fully engaging it. True rest requires your parasympathetic system to dominate for extended periods. This is why some people feel more rested after 6 hours of deeply parasympathetic sleep than after 9 hours of sympathetically tinged restlessness. Blood sugar instability also sabotages rest at a fundamental level. When you eat in a way that causes dramatic spikes and crashes in glucose, your body interprets those crashes as stress. Your adrenal glands release cortisol to raise blood sugar back up because low blood sugar is interpreted as a survival threat. If you go to bed with unstable blood sugar, or if you crash in the middle of the night, cortisol gets released. This wakes you up, even if you don't fully gain consciousness. You shift out of deep sleep into lighter stages. Your body enters a stress state when it should be entering its deepest repair mode. Many people experience this around 3 or 4 in the morning. They wake up with their mind racing, sometimes with anxiety, sometimes just alert for no apparent reason. This is often a cortisol surge in response to dropping blood sugar. Your body chose wakefulness and stress hormones over continued sleep because it perceived a threat to survival. And the exhausting part is that this can happen even after you've been lying down for hours. You're tired from the interrupted sleep, but you also haven't achieved the restoration that proper sleep architecture provides. Inflammation is another invisible thief of restorative rest. When your body is inflamed, whether from poor diet, chronic stress, environmental toxins, or unresolved infections, your immune system stays activated. This activation requires enormous amounts of energy. Your body diverts resources toward managing the inflammation instead of toward repair and restoration. You can sleep, but your body is still working overtime trying to manage the inflammatory response. You wake up feeling like you've been in a fight, because in a biological sense, you have been. The foods you eat directly influence inflammation. Processed seed oils, refined sugars, and foods you're sensitive to can trigger inflammatory cascades that last for hours or even days. If you're eating these foods regularly, you're creating a constant state of low-grade inflammation. Your body never fully shifts into repair mode because it's always dealing with the inflammatory response. Rest becomes ineffective because the biological conditions for restoration aren't present. Your thyroid gland, a small butterfly-shaped organ in your neck, governs your metabolic rate. It determines how efficiently your cells use energy. When your thyroid function is sluggish, everything slows down. Your cells can't effectively use the energy they produce. You feel tired because your cellular metabolism is operating below optimal levels. But here's the tricky part. Thyroid function is highly sensitive to stress. Chronic elevation of cortisol suppresses thyroid hormone production and conversion. So the same chronic stress that disrupts your sleep also slows down your metabolism, creating a double hit to your energy levels. People in this state often feel cold, struggle with weight, experience brain fog, and notice their hair thinning. They sleep but don't feel refreshed because their cells aren't metabolizing energy properly. Adding more rest doesn't solve the underlying metabolic problem. The thyroid needs specific conditions to function well. Adequate minerals like iodine and selenium, sufficient protein, stable blood sugar, and low chronic stress. Without these, sleep remains non-restorative. Dehydration at the cellular level also prevents rest from being truly restorative. You might drink water, but if you're deficient in electrolytes, particularly sodium, potassium, and magnesium, that water doesn't actually get into your cells where it's needed. Your cells remain in a state of dehydration even though you're drinking fluids. This cellular dehydration impairs every single metabolic process. Your mitochondria can't function optimally. Your muscles can't fully relax. Your brain can't clear waste products efficiently. You rest, but the biological processes that depend on proper hydration can't complete their work. Magnesium deserves special attention because it's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including those that produce energy and regulate your nervous system. It's also essential for deep sleep. Magnesium helps activate your parasympathetic nervous system and regulates neurotransmitters that promote calm. Most people are deficient in magnesium because modern soil is depleted and stress burns through magnesium rapidly. Without adequate magnesium, your muscles stay tense, your nervous system stays activated, and your sleep remains shallow. You get hours in bed, but your body can't access the deep restoration it needs. Your liver processes everything you consume and produces many of the proteins and molecules your body needs to function. When your liver is overburdened by toxins, alcohol, medications, or just the sheer volume of metabolic waste your cells produce, it struggles to keep up. A congested liver can't efficiently clear hormones like cortisol and estrogen. These hormones build up, creating imbalances that affect sleep and energy. Your liver does much of its detoxification work while you sleep, but if it's overwhelmed, that work remains incomplete. You wake up still carrying yesterday's metabolic burden, which is why people with liver congestion often feel worse in the morning despite sleeping. The modern environment exposes you to artificial light at times when your biology expects darkness. Your eyes contain receptors that communicate with your brain's master clock, telling your body whether it's day or night. When you stare at bright screens in the evening, especially blue light from phones and computers, you suppress melatonin production. Melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It's also a powerful antioxidant that protects your mitochondria and supports immune function. When you disrupt melatonin, you disrupt the entire hormonal cascade that prepares your body for deep, restorative sleep. Even if you fall asleep after blue light exposure, Your sleep architecture is compromised. You don't cycle through stages as effectively. Your body doesn't produce the right hormones at the right times. Morning comes, and you've technically slept, but you haven't experienced the full restorative process your biology requires. This is one reason why people who camp for several days away from artificial light and screens often report feeling dramatically more rested, even though they might be sleeping on uncomfortable ground. Your gut health influences your energy and rest more than most people realize. Your digestive system contains millions of neurons and produces a significant portion of your neurotransmitters, including serotonin, which gets converted into melatonin. If your gut is inflamed, if you have dysbiosis with an overgrowth of problematic bacteria, or if your intestinal lining is damaged, your neurotransmitter production suffers. You can't make adequate serotonin, which means you can't make adequate melatonin. Your gut-brain axis, the communication highway between your digestive system and your brain, sends signals of distress rather than signals of safety. Your nervous system stays alert rather than shifting into rest and repair. Parasites, fungal overgrowth, and bacterial infections in the gut also activate your immune system continuously. Your body treats these as ongoing threats, maintaining a low-grade inflammatory and stress response. You might have no obvious digestive symptoms, but your immune system is still activated, draining your energy and preventing true restoration during sleep. Rest becomes a temporary pause rather than a full recharge because your body is fighting a hidden battle. Your emotional state and unresolved psychological stress live in your body, not just in your mind. When you carry unprocessed emotions, worries, or trauma, your nervous system remains in a defensive state. Your muscles hold tension, your breathing becomes shallow. Your heart rate variability, a marker of nervous system flexibility, decreases. You can lie in bed for hours, but if your nervous system perceives ongoing threat from unresolved emotional content, it won't fully shift into parasympathetic dominance. True rest requires a sense of safety, not just physical stillness. This is why some people feel exhausted even on vacation. They've removed themselves from their daily stressors, they're sleeping more, but they're still carrying the unprocessed stress in their nervous system. Their body hasn't received the signal that it's safe to fully let go and restore. The rest is superficial because the nervous system activation is deep. Breathing patterns during the day influence your ability to rest at night. Most people breathe shallowly from their chest, a pattern associated with stress and sympathetic activation. This type of breathing maintains a state of low-level alertness. Deep diaphragmatic breathing, where your belly expands as you inhale, activates your parasympathetic nervous system and signals safety to your body. If you spend your entire day in shallow chest breathing, your nervous system never fully downshifts. When you finally try to sleep, you're starting from a state of activation rather than calm. Your body has to work harder to transition into rest, and often it doesn't complete that transition fully. Movement and physical activity also determine whether rest is restorative. Your body is designed to move throughout the day. Movement helps circulate lymphatic fluid, which carries waste products away from your cells. Unlike blood, which gets pumped by your heart, lymph only moves when you move. If you're sedentary all day, waste products accumulate in your tissues. Your body becomes congested. Even when you rest, that congestion remains, creating a sense of heaviness and fatigue. You need movement to clear the system so that rest can actually restore, rather than just maintain stagnation. But there's a balance. Excessive exercise, especially without adequate recovery, becomes another stressor. It elevates cortisol, depletes minerals and nutrients, and creates more cellular damage than your body can repair. Athletes who overtrain often experience crushing fatigue despite sleeping long hours. Their bodies are in a state of breakdown faster than their capacity for buildup. Rest alone can't compensate when you're creating damage faster than your repair mechanisms can handle. The expectation that rest should automatically equal restoration is itself a misunderstanding of how your body works. Rest provides the opportunity for restoration, but restoration requires specific conditions. Your cells need the right nutrients. Your hormones need to be balanced. Your nervous system needs to feel safe. Your inflammation needs to be low. Your detoxification pathways need to be clear. When these conditions are met, rest becomes profoundly restorative. When they're not, you can rest endlessly and still feel depleted. This is why addressing tiredness requires looking beyond sleep duration. You need to examine your stress levels, your nutrition, your blood sugar stability, your exposure to toxins, your gut health, your thyroid function, your mineral status, and your nervous system state. These aren't separate issues. They're interconnected parts of a whole system. Improving one area often improves others because your body functions as an integrated network, not as isolated parts. The fatigue you feel after rest isn't a personal failure or a mysterious curse. It's information. Your body is telling you that something in the system needs attention. The tiredness is a symptom, not the root problem. When you start investigating the deeper biological conditions that enable restoration, you stop chasing more hours in bed and start creating the internal environment where rest can actually do its job. That shift in understanding is where real energy recovery begins, and it reveals that tiredness was never really about the rest itself, but about everything that determines whether your body can use that rest to rebuild.